The outbreak on Helix Prime was under control. The death toll had stopped rising. Patients who had been hours from death were now walking the corridors, weak but alive. The same story was repeating on other stations throughout the sector. Wherever human blood treatments had been sent, recovery followed. Park Soo-bin spent those 3 days barely sleeping. She trained doctors. She refined the plasma processing technique. She answered thousands of questions about human biology. By the third morning, she could barely keep her eyes open. Daeho found her asleep at her desk, her head resting on a pile of data tablets. He gently shook her shoulder. "Wake up. The council has made their decision." Soo-bin sat up immediately, all tiredness forgotten. "Already? What did they say?" "Koran wants us in the command center, now." They walked quickly through the station. The corridors were busier than before, but the mood was different. Aliens who had been terrified of humans a few days ago now nodded to them with respect. Some even bowed. A young Marani child ran up to Daeho and grabbed his hand. "Thank you," the child said in broken standard. "You saved my mother." Daeho knelt down to the child's level. "What is your name?" "Telis." "Telis, your mother saved herself. She was brave. She held on until we could help. That was the hardest part." Telis smiled and ran off to rejoin his mother, who was watching from nearby. The Marani woman bowed deeply to Daeho before leading her son away. Soo-bin watched this with a warm feeling in her chest. "You are good with children." "I like children," Daeho said simply. "They have not learned to be afraid yet." They reached the command center. Administrator Koran was already there, along with Dr. Veleth, Nurse Tavak, and several other station leaders. The screens on the walls showed the same council representatives as before. "Thank you for joining us," Koran said. "The council has reached a decision regarding humanity's role in galactic affairs." Soo-bin felt her heart beating faster. This was the moment. Everything they had worked for, everything they had hoped for, came down to this. The Marani representative spoke first. "The council has reviewed all evidence from the Helix Prime incident. We have examined medical records, watched treatment procedures, and interviewed hundreds of patients who received human blood therapy." She paused, her expression unreadable. "We have also consulted with experts on biological weapons, disease control, and interspecies relations." Soo-bin held her breath. "Our conclusion is as follows." The representative looked directly at the camera. "Humanity represents both a significant opportunity and a significant unknown. Your biology is unlike anything in our recorded history. Your ability to survive disease, injury, and environmental extremes exceeds all other known species." Some members of the council expressed concern. A Grellian representative added. They argued that humanity could be a threat, that your biological advantages could be used against other species. However, the Fethian representative said, the majority of the council was moved by the actions of humans during this crisis. You gave your blood freely. You worked without rest to save lives. You asked for nothing in return. The Marani representative nodded. The council has voted to grant humanity expanded rights within galactic society. Specifically, we are creating a new department within the Galactic Medical Authority. It will be called the Human Xeno Medical Exchange. Soo-bin's eyes went wide. Medical exchange? Yes. This department will be responsible for developing cross-species, medical treatments using human biological advantages. It will research antibody therapies, immune response techniques, and other applications of human biology for the benefit of all species. We are offering you the position of director, the Fethian representative said to Soo-bin. You have demonstrated exceptional knowledge, leadership, and compassion. You are the obvious choice. Soo-bin was speechless. She looked at Daeho, who was grinning at her. What about me? Daeho asked, I am just an engineer. Dr. Veleth stepped forward. If I may speak. The council nodded. Deho was the first to volunteer his blood. He gave until he could barely stand. He spoke to the council with honesty and courage. He showed us what humanity truly is, not through science, but through action. She turned to the screens. I would like to request that Deho be assigned as Subin's partner in this new department. Not as a scientist, but as a liaison. Someone who can help other species understand humanity on a personal level. The council members looked at each other. After a brief discussion, the Marani representative nodded. We find this acceptable. Yoon Deho will serve as the Human Xenomedical Exchange's official liaison. Deho blinked in surprise. Thank you. I will do my best. We expect nothing less, the representative said. Then, surprisingly, she smiled. We have learned something important these past few days. Humanity is strange. Your biology frightens us, but your hearts are good. Perhaps the galaxy needs more strangeness. The screens began to go dark as the meeting ended. The last thing Subin saw was the Fethian representative waving one of its tentacles in what she hoped was a gesture of goodwill. When the screens were dark, the room erupted in celebration. Tovak jumped up and down, making happy squeaking sounds. Corn glowed brighter than Subin had ever seen. Even the serious station officials were smiling. Dr. Veleth approached Subin and Deho. Congratulations, she said. You earned this. We all did, Subin replied. This was a team effort. Perhaps. But you showed us something we needed to see. Veleth reached out and took Subin's hand in one of her own. We thought we were advanced. We thought our technology made us superior. But you taught us that survival is not about technology. It is about what lives inside you. Deho laughed softly. You mean the immune system? I mean more than that. Veleth's eyes were serious. I mean the willingness to fight. To keep going when everything seems lost. To help others even when it costs you. Humans have that in their blood, and I do not mean the antibodies. The celebration continued for another hour. Eventually, the crowd thinned as people returned to their duties. Subin and Deho found themselves alone by the large viewport that overlooked the stars. Director Park Subin, Deho said, testing the words. It has a nice sound. Liaison Yoon Deho, she replied. That sounds pretty good too. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the lights of distant ships move against the darkness. Do you think we made the right choice? Deho asked. Sharing our biology with the galaxy? Some people on Earth might not be happy about it. Some people are never happy about anything, Subin said. But I think this is right. We have something the galaxy needs. Keeping it to ourselves would be selfish, even if it means they learn all our weaknesses. Subin smiled. I know. They just watched us give blood until we were pale and weak, then get up and do it again the next day. They watched us survive wounds that would kill them. They saw us work for 3 days without sleep because people needed our help. She shook her head. I do not think they are worried about our weaknesses anymore. Deho nodded slowly. I suppose you are right. Footsteps approached behind them. They turned to see Dr. Veleth walking toward them with a confused expression on her face. Subin, I have been studying human medical records as you suggested. I found something I do not understand. What is it? Veleth held up a data tablet. There are many references to something called common cold. It appears to be an illness that affects humans regularly. The symptoms include sneezing, congestion, minor fever, and general discomfort. Yes, that is correct. But the records say that humans get this illness multiple times throughout their lives. Sometimes several times in a single year. Also correct. Veleth's face showed complete confusion. And you survive it? Every time? Almost always, yes. without medical treatment? Usually just rest and fluids. Velith stared at them. Her 4 hands were trembling slightly. You get sick regularly. Fight off the disease with your own bodies. Recover completely, and then continue with your lives as if nothing happened. Yes, Subin said. That is what the immune system does. And you speak of this casually? As if it is nothing special. Deho shrugged. To us, it is not special. It is just life. Velith sat down heavily on a nearby bench. She looked like someone who had just been told that water flows upward on some worlds. Subin, she said slowly, I think I need to sit down for a very long time and rethink everything I know about biology. Subin laughed kindly. She sat down next to Velith and put a hand on her shoulder. Doctor, that is exactly how humans felt when we first reached the stars. We thought we were ordinary. We thought everyone could do what we did. And then we learned that we were alone in our abilities. That the things we took for granted were miracles to others. Subin looked out at the stars. It was a strange feeling. We spent so long trying to be special, only to discover that we had been special all along. We just did not know it. Velith was quiet for a moment. Then she looked at Subin with curious eyes. What else do humans not know about themselves? What other miracles are you hiding? Subin and Deho exchanged a glance. Doctor, Deho said, you might want to get comfortable. This is going to be a very long conversation. Outside the viewport, the stars shone on. Somewhere out there, ships were carrying human blood treatments to distant stations. The human blood treatment worked. Dr. Velith was living proof. Within 3 hours of receiving the modified plasma, she was back on her feet. She was weak, yes. She needed rest, yes. But she was alive and recovering. When everyone else with the same infection was dying, Subin stood at the center of the main medical bay, which had been transformed into an emergency treatment center. Engineers had brought in extra equipment from all over the station. Scientists from the research wing had come to help process the plasma. Even maintenance workers were running supplies and helping move patients. But the most important people in the room were the humans. Every human on Helix Prime had answered the call. 23 people in total. Engineers, administrators, researchers, cooks, cleaners. It did not matter what their job was. Right now, their job was to sit in chairs and give blood. Deho was still in his chair despite Subin's protests. He looked pale and tired, but he refused to leave. I started this, he said when she tried to make him rest. I will see it through. The human next to him was a woman named Kim Ji-yeon, a food service worker who had never done anything heroic in her life. Now she sat calmly while her blood was drawn, watching the aliens around her with gentle eyes. I never thought I would be saving the galaxy, Ji-yeon said quietly. I always thought I was just ordinary. You are ordinary, Deho said. We all are. That is the point. Every human can do this. Our blood, our bodies, the way we are built. It is not special to us. It is just normal. Normal. Ji-yeon laughed softly. To them, we are miracles. On the other side of the room, the treatment was being given to patient after patient. The process was not easy. Each species reacted differently to the human antibodies. The Marani accepted the treatment most easily. Their bodies were designed for sterile environments, but they had few built-in rejection responses. The antibodies flowed into them and immediately went to work. Most Marani patients showed improvement within an hour. The Grellians were harder. Their bodies naturally rejected all foreign matter, including the helpful antibodies. Subin had to develop a special coating for the plasma, wrapping the antibodies in a protein that Grellian systems would not recognize as foreign. Even then, the doses had to be small and careful. Too much, too fast, and the Grellian body would go into shock. The Fethians were the most difficult of all. Their liquid cellular structure could not hold the antibodies properly. They just flowed through without staying long enough to help. Finally, Dr. Veleth came up with a solution. She suspended the antibodies in a gel that would slowly release them over time. It was not perfect, but it was enough. The Fethians began to stabilize. By the end of the first day, the death rate had dropped dramatically. Not zero. Some patients had been too far gone to save. But the ones who received treatment in time were recovering. The impossible was happening. Su Bin walked through the rows of beds, checking on patients. She stopped by a young Mirani who was sleeping peacefully. His skin was still pale, but his breathing was strong. He would live. You did this. Su Bin turned. Dr. Veleth was standing behind her, looking tired but happy. We all did this, Su Bin said. Humans, Mirani, Grellians, Fethians. Working together. Yes, but the idea was yours. The blood was yours. The immunity was yours. Dr. Veleth reached out with one of her 4 hands and touched Su Bin's shoulder. I owe you my life. All of us do. You would have done the same for us. I would have tried, Dr. Veleth admitted. But I do not know if I could have. Your bodies fight in ways ours cannot. Your blood carries weapons we cannot make. You did not just give us medicine today, Su Bin. You gave us parts of yourselves. Su Bin did not know what to say to that. She was saved from having to respond by a loud beeping from her communicator. Administrator Korin's voice came through the speaker. Su Bin. Deho, please come to the command center. The Galactic Council wishes to speak with you. Su Bin looked at Deho, who was already standing up despite the protests of the nurse next to him. He grabbed a glass of juice to help replace his lost fluids and walked toward her. Ready? She asked. No, he said honestly. But let us go anyway. The command center of Helix Prime was a large circular room with screens covering every wall. Normally, those screens showed status reports and communication channels. Today, they showed faces. Dozens of faces. Representatives from across the Galactic Council. Watching from their home worlds. Administrator Korin floated in the center of the room. The Fethian looked better than before. The gel treatment was working. Thank you for coming, Korin said. The Council has been observing our situation. They have questions. Su Bin stepped forward and bowed slightly to the screens. We are happy to answer. A Mirani representative spoke first. Her voice was cold and formal. We have received reports of your treatment method. You are using human blood to cure our people. Is this correct? Human blood plasma, yes. Specifically, the antibodies within the plasma. And these antibodies? They come from a biological system that fights disease automatically. Correct. Humans have what we call an immune system. It defends our bodies against infection. Silence on the screens. Then a Grellian representative spoke. We have also received reports about other aspects of human biology. Healing wounds without treatment. Raising body temperature to kill bacteria. Deliberately infecting yourselves to build resistance. All true, Su Bin said. More silence. Finally, a Fethian representative asked the question that was clearly on everyone's mind. What else can human bodies do? What other abilities have you not told us about? Deho stepped forward. May I speak? Korin gestured for him to continue. I am not a scientist like Su Bin, Deho began. I am just an engineer. I fix things. But I know my own body pretty well, so let me tell you a few things. He held up his bandaged arm. This wound happened this morning. It cut deep into my muscle. For any of you, this would be fatal. For me, it will be healed in a few weeks. Maybe a month. The scar tissue will be stronger than the original skin. He pointed to his chest. If I break a bone, it will heal. Not just repair, heal completely. Sometimes the healed bone is stronger than it was before. He touched his stomach. My liver can regenerate. If I lose part of it to injury or disease, it will grow back. Not as fast as some creatures, but it will grow. Several representatives made sounds of disbelief. There is more, Deho continued. Humans can survive extreme temperatures, hot deserts, frozen mountains. We adapt. Our bodies change to match the environment. We can survive without food for weeks, without water for days. We can resist radiation levels that would kill most species immediately. He paused and looked at the screens. And we can keep going when we should stop. When we are tired, when we are hurt, when everything tells us to give up. We can push through. That is not just biology. That is who we are. The Marani representative leaned forward. You make yourselves sound like weapons. Living, walking weapons. How do we know you are not dangerous to us? Because we are standing here, helping you instead of watching you die, Deho said simply. Look around this station. Every human gave blood today. Some gave until they could barely stand. No one asked for payment. No one asked for reward. We did it because people were dying and we could help. He pointed back toward the medical bay. Right now, somewhere on this station, a human cook named Kim Ji-yeon is giving her blood to save a Marani child she has never met. A human maintenance worker is helping a Grelian family get to treatment. A human researcher is teaching your doctors how to process the plasma more efficiently. Deho's voice grew stronger. We did not choose to evolve this way. Our planet forced us to become survivors. But survival is not the same as aggression. We learned to fight because we had to. But we also learned something else. We learned the best way to survive is to help others survive too. The screens were quiet. Representatives looked at each other, uncertain what to say. Subin stepped forward again. We are not asking you to trust us completely. Not yet. We know we are strange to you. Our biology is frightening. But let us prove ourselves through actions, not just words. She looked around at all the faces watching her. Humanity is willing to share our medical knowledge with the galaxy. We will help develop treatments for other species. We will teach your doctors about immune responses and antibody therapies. We will give our blood whenever it is needed. In return for what? The Fethian representative asked. In return for acceptance, Subin said. And cooperation. Nothing more. Administrator Korin floated forward. I would like to add something. I was dying this morning. My cells were breaking down. I had accepted my death. Then these humans saved me. Not with advanced technology. Not with powerful weapons. With their blood. With the strange and wonderful biology that they were born with. Korin's voice was filled with emotion. I have lived for 200 years. I have met thousands of species. I have never seen anything like humanity. They terrify me, but they also give me hope. The council was silent for a long moment. Then the Marani representative spoke. We will take this matter to a formal vote. The council will decide how to proceed. The screens began to go dark, one by one. The meeting was over. Subin let out a long breath. Deho put his hand on her shoulder. Did we do okay? He asked. I do not know, Subin admitted. I really do not know. See. Park Subin ran through the corridors with Deho, Dr. Veleth, and Tovak close behind her. Every few steps, they passed another scene of horror. Aliens were collapsing in the hallways. Medical teams were overwhelmed. The screaming had stopped in some areas, which was worse than the screaming itself. The bacteria moved fast. Subin had studied Earth pathogens for years, but she had never seen one spread through an alien population like this. On Earth, this bacteria would cause a minor infection. A healthy human would fight it off in 3 or 4 days without even needing medicine. Here, it was a death sentence. They reached the main medical bay and stopped at the entrance. Su-bin felt her heart sink. The room was filled with beds. Every bed was occupied. Narani doctors and nurses lay next to their patients, too sick to help anyone. Their blue skin had turned gray. Their breathing was shallow and weak. Some of them were not breathing at all. On the far side of the room, a group of Grellians had gathered in a corner. They were shaking violently, their small bodies trying to reject the bacteria. But unlike humans, Grellians could not mount a proper defense. Their rejection response only made things worse. They were hurting themselves. Worst of all were the Fethians. The jellyfish-like creatures floated in special tanks along the wall. Usually, their bodies glowed with soft blue and purple light. Now, they were dim, almost dark. Their cellular structure was breaking down. They were dissolving from the inside. How many? Su-bin asked quietly. A young Marani nurse stumbled toward them. She was still on her feet, but barely. 700 infected so far. Maybe more. We stopped counting when the medical computers crashed. Dead? 42 confirmed. But that number changes every hour. The nurse looked at Su-bin with desperate eyes. Please, you are human. You must know something. Some medicine? Some treatment? Anything. Su-bin felt the weight of that hope pressing down on her shoulders. She looked around the room again. All these beings were dying because of something that came from her planet. Something that lived inside her body right now without causing her any harm. Where is Administrator Korin? Su-bin asked. Command Center. Trying to organize quarantine protocols. But nothing is working. The bacteria is everywhere. It is in the air systems. The water recycling. Everywhere. Leho stepped forward. He had been quiet since they left the engineering bay, watching everything with careful eyes. Su-bin, look at us. Su-bin turned to him. She did not understand what he meant at first. Then she noticed. Leho looked fine. His wounds were still bandaged, but he was standing straight. His color was good. He was not coughing. He was not showing any symptoms at all. Su-bin checked herself. She felt completely healthy. No fever, no congestion, no weakness. The bacteria that was killing everyone around them was inside her body right now, and her immune system was destroying it without her even noticing. The other humans, Su-bin said suddenly. We need to check on the other humans. She pulled out her communicator and sent a message to all human personnel on the station. Within seconds, responses started coming in. Every single human on Helix Prime reported the same thing. They felt fine. Some had mild sniffles. One person said he sneezed twice that morning. That was all. Dr. Velith was watching this exchange with wide eyes. You are all healthy? All of you? But the bacteria is everywhere. You must be infected. We are infected, Su-bin said. But we are fighting it off. Our immune systems are working. Dr. Velith laughed, but it was not a happy sound. Your bodies are doing in hours what we cannot do with all our medicine. We are the ones with the advanced technology. We are the ones who have traveled to stars for thousands of years. And now we are dying from a disease that gives you a runny nose. A holographic projection appeared in the center of the room. Administrator Korin's jellyfish-like form flickered in and out of focus. The Fethian's voice was weak, but still commanding. Dr. Velith, Park Su-bin, I need you in the command center immediately. We have received communications from other stations. This is not just happening here. Su-bin's blood went cold. Other stations? 3 more medical facilities. 2 colony ships. 1 diplomatic vessel. The same bacteria. The same results. Corin's image flickered again. The Galactic Council is watching. They want answers. More importantly, they want solutions. If you have any ideas at all, now is the time. The projection ended. Su Bin stood very still for a long moment. Her mind was racing through everything she knew about immunology, about cross-species medicine, about the history of human disease treatment. There had to be something, some way to help. Then she remembered. Passive immunity, she whispered. Deho looked at her. What? Passive immunity. It is an old technique. Very old. Before we had modern vaccines, doctors used to treat sick patients with blood from recovered patients. Dr. Veleth stepped closer. Blood? You mean transfusions? Not exactly. They would take the blood plasma, the liquid part of the blood without the cells. That plasma contains antibodies, defense proteins that know how to fight specific diseases. Su Bin's voice was getting faster as the idea took shape. If we could extract antibodies from human blood and give them to aliens, their bodies might be able to use those antibodies to fight the infection. Dr. Veleth's 4 hands clasped together. Borrowed immunity. Using human defenses in non-human bodies. Yes, the antibodies would not last forever. They are not connected to a living immune system, so they would break down eventually. But they might last long enough to clear the infection. Tovak had been listening from behind them. The little Grellian stepped forward, still shaking with fear. Would it work? Really work? I do not know, Su Bin admitted. Human blood contains many things that alien bodies have never encountered. The transfusion could save them, or it could cause a rejection response that kills them even faster. But without it, they will definitely die, Deho said. Yes, Deho nodded. He walked over to an empty chair and sat down, rolling up his sleeve. Then take my blood. I will be the donor. Deho, you are still injured. You already lost blood from the explosion. I will be fine. Humans can lose more blood than this and survive. You know that. He looked at her with steady eyes. We need to try. We cannot just watch them die. Su Bin wanted to argue, but she knew he was right. Every minute they wasted was another life lost. She turned to Dr. Veleth. Can you help me set up a plasma extraction system? I will need to filter out everything except the antibodies. We also need to prepare the antibodies in a solution that alien bodies can accept. Dr. Veleth was already moving. Despite her exhaustion, despite her own early symptoms of infection, she was a doctor. She had work to do. Tell me exactly what you need. I will make it happen. They worked for the next 2 hours. Su Bin guided them through the process, explaining human blood chemistry and antibody structure. Dr. Veleth converted the standard equipment to handle human samples. Tovak ran errands, bringing supplies from storage rooms across the station. Deho sat quietly through all of it, letting them draw blood from his arm. He was pale by the end, but he never complained. Finally, they had a small container of modified plasma. It was thin and yellow, filled with concentrated antibodies from Deho's immune system. Antibodies that knew how to kill Earth bacteria. Now we need someone to test it on, Su Bin said. Dr. Veleth stepped forward. Her blue skin was definitely gray now. She was sweating from 4 pores on her forehead. The infection had taken hold in her body. Use me, she said. Veleth, no. You are the only doctor still functional. If something goes wrong, we need you. And if something goes right, you need to know immediately. Dr. Veleth sat down in the treatment chair. I am already sick. If I do nothing, I will be dead by morning. Let me be useful. Su Bin looked at the container in her hands. Such a small amount of liquid. Such a huge risk. She thought about all the patients in the beds behind her. all the people on other stations, all the lives that depended on what happened in the next few minutes. "Okay," Subin said. "Let us begin." She connected the tube to Dr. Velad's arm and started the transfusion. The yellow plasma flowed slowly into the alien doctor's bloodstream. Everyone held their breath. For the first 30 seconds, nothing happened. Then Dr. Veleth screamed. Her body arched off the chair. Her blue skin flushed bright purple. Her 4 hearts were beating so fast that Subin could see them pounding through her chest. Monitors started beeping an alarm. "She is rejecting it," Tovak cried. "Stop the transfusion. Stop it now. Wait." Subin grabbed his arm. "Wait, look at her vitals. Really look." The monitors showed chaos. Heart rate spiking, temperature rising, blood pressure jumping. But beneath all that noise, Subin saw something else. The bacterial count in Dr. Veleth's bloodstream was dropping. Slowly at first, then faster. "The antibodies are working," Subin whispered. "They are killing the bacteria." Dr. Veleth was still shaking, still making sounds of pain. But after 10 minutes, the worst seemed to pass. Her heart slowed down. Her skin began returning to its normal blue color. Her breathing deepened. She opened her eyes. "I can feel them," she said softly. "The antibodies. Moving through me. Fighting." She looked at Subin with wonder. "They are winning." Subin let out a breath she did not know she had been holding. It worked. Dr. Veleth could not stop looking at the scanner. The holographic display still showed Yoon Daeho's bloodstream. The white blood cells were still moving, still fighting, still winning. With every passing minute, there were fewer bacteria and more of those strange soldier cells gathering at the wound site. They had moved to a quiet room in the medical bay. Daeho sat on an examination table with his wounds now properly bandaged. Subin stood nearby, waiting patiently. Dr. Veleth sat in a chair, all 4 of her hands pressed against her face. Nurse Tovak crouched in the corner, his fur standing straight up from fear. "I do not understand," Dr. Veleth said for the 5th time. "This should not be real." "But it is real," Subin said gently. "You are seeing it with your own scanner. Daeho's body is fighting the infection by itself. No medicine, no sterile treatment, just his own biology." Dr. Veleth lowered her hands and looked at Subin with desperate eyes. "Please explain, please. I have studied medicine for 40 years. I have treated hundreds of species. Nothing I know prepared me for this. How does it work?" Subin pulled up a chair and sat down facing the doctor. She spoke slowly and clearly, using simple words. She had given this explanation before to other aliens. It never got easier. "Human bodies are made of trillions of cells," Subin began. "Most of those cells work together to keep us alive. They build our muscles, carry oxygen in our blood, digest our food, and so on. But some of those cells have a special job. They protect us from invaders." "Invaders," Dr. Veleth repeated. "You mean bacteria, viruses, disease?" "Yes. On Earth, where humans come from, the world is full of things that want to eat us. Not just big predators like lions or wolves. Small things, tiny things. Bacteria that live in the water, viruses that float in the air, parasites that hide in the soil. From the moment a human is born, we are under attack." Tovak made a whimpering sound. "Your planet sounds horrible." "It is dangerous," Subin agreed. "But that danger made us strong. Over millions of years, human bodies learned to fight back. We developed the immune system." She held up her hand and pointed to the veins visible under her skin. "Right now, inside my blood, there are millions of white blood cells. They are always there, always patrolling, always watching for anything that does not belong. When they find an invader, they attack it. They eat it. They destroy it. Dr. Veleth leaned forward. And this happens automatically? You do not control it. We cannot control it, Subin said. It happens whether we want it to or not. Our bodies fight for us even when we are sleeping. Even when we do not know we are sick. The doctor was quiet for a long moment. She looked at Daiho, who was sitting calmly on the table. His wounds were already starting to close at the edges. She could see new tissue forming. His body was rebuilding itself. What about larger infections? Dr. Veleth asked. What happens when there are too many bacteria for the white cells to handle? Subin nodded. That is when things get more interesting. When the immune system detects a serious threat, it has other weapons to use. Other weapons? First, there is inflammation. The area around the wound becomes red and swollen. This is not a bad thing. It means more blood is flowing to that area, bringing more white blood cells to the fight. The swelling also traps the bacteria so they cannot spread. Dr. Veleth's 4 hands gripped her chair. You cause your own tissue to swell. On purpose? The body does it automatically. And there's more. Subin paused, choosing her next words carefully. When the infection is very serious, the human body can raise its own temperature. Silence. Tovak stepped forward from his corner. His large eyes were even larger than usual. Raise its temperature? You mean, like heating? Yes, we call it a fever. The human body can increase its internal temperature by several degrees. Many bacteria cannot survive in high heat. So the body makes itself hotter to kill them. No. Tovak was shaking his head, backing away again. No, that is not possible. If my body temperature changes by even 2 degrees, I die. All Grellians die. Temperature must be constant. This is basic biology. For your species, yes, Subin said. For humans, no. We can survive temperature changes of 5 or even 10 degrees. It is unpleasant. It makes us feel sick. But it helps us fight infection. Dr. Veleth stood up suddenly. All 4 of her arms were waving in the air. You deliberately make yourselves sick to fight sickness? You damage your own bodies to save them. Yes, that is madness. Daiho spoke for the first time since they had entered the room. Doctor, wait until she tells you about vaccines. Dr. Veleth turned to look at him. Vaccines? What are vaccines? Subin took a deep breath. This is the part that confuses most aliens. So please listen carefully. She stood up and began to pace slowly as she spoke. Sometimes a disease is too dangerous for the immune system to fight alone, especially a new disease that the body has never seen before. The white blood cells do not know how to attack it. They need to learn. Learn? Tovak asked. Cells can learn? In a way, yes. When the immune system successfully fights off a disease, it remembers that disease. It creates special cells called antibodies that are designed to attack that specific enemy. If the same disease ever comes back, the body is ready. It can destroy it immediately. Dr. Veleth was nodding slowly. So the body learns from experience. That is logical. But what are vaccines? Subin stopped pacing and faced the doctor directly. A vaccine is when we deliberately put a disease inside our bodies. On purpose. So that the immune system can practice fighting it. The room went completely silent. Tovak sat down on the floor. He seemed unable to stand anymore. Dr. Veleth's blue skin had turned pale. Almost white. Her mouth was open, but no words were coming out. We do not use the full disease, Subin explained quickly. We use a weak version, or a dead version, something that cannot actually hurt us. The immune system attacks it and learns how to fight it. Then, If the real disease ever comes, the body already knows what to do. You inject disease into yourselves, Dr. Velas said slowly. Children. You do this to children. Yes, it is how we protect them. On Earth, vaccines have saved billions of lives. Billions. Yes, double quotes. Dr. Velas walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Her reflection showed a face full of confusion and something that might have been fear. Humans evolved on a death world, she said quietly. That is what the old texts called Earth. I thought it was exaggeration. I thought it was mythology. But it is true, is it not? It is true, Subin said. Earth is beautiful, but it is also dangerous. The water has bacteria. The air has viruses. The soil has parasites. Our food can poison us if we do not prepare it correctly. Our own pets can give us diseases. Everything on our planet is trying to kill everything else. It has been this way for billions of years. And humans survived all of that? We did more than survive. We thrived. We became the dominant species on the planet. Not because we were the strongest or the fastest. We survived because our bodies learned to fight back. Dr. Veleth turned from the window. She looked at Deho, who was now flexing his injured arm experimentally. The pain on his face was already less than before. Your wound, she said. It is healing. I can see it healing. It will probably leave a scar, Deho said. But yes, it will heal completely. Give it a few weeks. A few weeks, the doctor repeated. For an injury that would kill any other species in days. A loud alarm suddenly cut through the room. Red lights began flashing on the walls. An automated voice spoke in the standard galactic language. Attention, all personnel. Quarantine alert. Unknown pathogen detected in sectors 7 through 12. All non-essential personnel are ordered to remain in their current locations. Medical staff report to emergency stations immediately. Dr. Veleth grabbed her equipment. Tovak jumped to his feet. Both of them looked at the door, ready to run. Subin held up her hand. Wait, what kind of pathogen? Dr. Veleth checked her scanner. Her face went even paler. Bacterial. Origin unknown. It is spreading fast. 3 species already showing symptoms in Sector 7. Subin frowned. Let me see the bacterial profile. Dr. Veleth transmitted the data to Subin's tablet. The human woman looked at it for a long moment. Then she closed her eyes. Oh no, Subin said quietly. What? Deho asked. What is it? Subin looked up. Her face was serious. This is not an alien pathogen. This is from Earth. It came with the last cargo shipment from human space. For humans, this bacteria causes a mild cold. Nothing serious. A runny nose for a few days. And for us? Dr. Veleth asked. Subin did not answer immediately. She did not need to. The fear in her eyes said everything. We need to move, Subin said. Now, I might know a way to help. But we do not have much time. Yoon Deho was deep inside the engineering bay of the Galactic Medical Station, Helix Prime, when the world turned to fire and noise. One moment, he was checking pressure readings on a containment unit. The next moment, something failed. Metal screamed. The floor jumped beneath his feet. A wave of force picked him up and threw him across the room like a toy. He hit something hard. He did not know what. Pain shot through his arm and side. Then everything went quiet except for the ringing in his ears. Deho lay on the floor for a few seconds. He blinked. His vision was blurry. Smoke filled the air. Red emergency lights flashed on and off. Somewhere in the distance, alarms were screaming. Slowly, he pushed himself up onto one elbow. His left arm felt wrong. He looked down and saw why. A piece of metal had torn through his sleeve and cut deep into his forearm. Blood was running down his skin and dripping onto the floor. More blood was soaking through his shirt on his right side, where something had slashed across his ribs. "That is not good," Deho said to himself. His voice was calm. He had been hurt before. Not this badly, maybe. But he knew that panic would not help. He pressed his right hand against his left arm to slow the bleeding. It hurt. He ignored it. Pain was just information. It was telling him something was wrong. He already knew that. The door to the engineering bay burst open. Two figures rushed in through the smoke. Deho recognized them even through his blurry vision. Dr. Velith was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and 4 arms. She was Imirani, one of the best doctors on the station. Behind her came Nurse Tovak, a small furry creature with large dark eyes. Tovak was a Grellian. Both of them were running toward him. Dr. Velith reached him first. All 4 of her hands were shaking as she looked at his wounds. Her large purple eyes went wide with horror. "No," she whispered. No. This cannot be happening." Tovak made a sound like a frightened animal. The little Grellian was backing away, covering his mouth with his paws. "The blood," Tovak said. "There is so much blood. He is dying. He's already dying." Deho looked at them both with confusion. "I am not dying," he said. "I am hurt, but I am not dying." Dr. Velith grabbed his shoulders with 2 of her hands. The other 2 were already pulling out medical equipment from her bag. "Do not speak," she said. "Save your energy. We need to get you into a sterile pod immediately. The infection will spread within minutes. We might already be too late." "Infection?" Deho shook his head. "What infection? I just got cut. I need bandages. Maybe some stitches. Do you have antiseptic?" The doctor stared at him like he had lost his mind. "Antiseptic? Your skin is broken. Your blood is exposed to the air. Bacteria is entering your body right now, at this very moment. Without a sterile pod, you will be dead before the day ends." Deho almost laughed. He caught himself because he could see that Dr. Velith was not joking. She was truly terrified. So was Tovak. They both believed he was about to die. "Doctor," Deho said slowly, "I do not need a sterile pod. Humans get cuts all the time. We heal." Dr. Velith's hands stopped moving. "All 4 of them." She looked at him like he was speaking a language she did not understand. "You heal," she repeated. "With your skin broken. With bacteria inside you. Yes, that is not possible. I promise you, it is very possible. It happens every day on Earth. Children fall down and cut their knees. Workers get injured. People survive much worse than this. I just need you to clean the wound and close it. My body will do the rest." Tovak stepped forward. The little Grellian's whiskers were trembling. "He must be in shock," Tovak said to Dr. Velith. "The trauma has damaged his thinking. We need to sedate him and prepare the sterile pod." "I am not in shock," Deho said firmly. "And I am not going into a sterile pod. Please, just bandages. That is all I need." Dr. Velith looked at his wounds again. Blood was still flowing, though more slowly now. Deho was still pressing his hand against his arm. The doctor's face showed complete confusion. In her entire medical career, she had never seen anyone with open wounds speak so calmly. On her world, an injury like this meant death. There was no other outcome. The body had no way to fight the invasion that would follow. "Velith!" A new voice cut through the smoke. "What is happening?" The explosion was reported all over the station. Deho turned his head. A human woman was running toward them. She was wearing the white coat of a xenobiologist. Her name was Park Subin, and she was one of the few humans who worked in the medical section of Helix Prime. Deho had spoken with her a few times in the cafeteria. She was smart and kind, and she understood aliens better than most humans did. Subin reached them and looked at Daeho's injuries. Her face showed concern, but not the terror that the aliens were showing. "That looks painful," Subin said. "Are you okay?" "I will live," Daeho said. "But our friends here seem to think I am already dead." Subin looked at Dr. Veleth and Tovak. Understanding crossed her face. She had seen this reaction before. Aliens did not understand human biology. They could not imagine a body that fought back against infection. "He is not dying," Subin said to the doctor. "Humans can survive wounds like this. I know it seems impossible to you, but it is true." Dr. Veleth shook her head. "You are both mad. Both of you. The bacteria will spread through his blood. His organs will fail one by one. I have seen it happen to every species. No one survives open wounds without sterile treatment." Subin knelt down next to Daeho. She pulled a small medical kit from her pocket. Inside were bandages, antiseptic wipes, and a small tube of wound sealant. She began cleaning his injuries with quick, practiced movements. "Doctor," Subin said while she worked, "I want you to do something for me. Take your scanner and look at his blood. Really look at it. Tell me what you see." Dr. Veleth hesitated. She clearly thought this was a waste of time. But something in Subin's voice made her curious. Slowly, she pulled out her medical scanner and pointed it at Daeho's arm. The device hummed softly. A holographic display appeared in the air above it, showing a magnified view of Daeho's bloodstream. Dr. Veleth leaned closer to look. Then she froze. Her purple eyes went wider than Daeho had ever seen them go. Her 4 hands began to shake again, but this time not from fear of his wounds. This time it was something else. Something closer to disbelief. "What?" Dr. Veleth whispered. "What are those things?" "Those moving things in his blood?" Tovak crept closer to look at the display. He made a squeaking sound of alarm. "Parasites. He's full of parasites. They are everywhere." "Those are not parasites," Subin said calmly. She finished wrapping Daeho's arm and sat back. "Those are white blood cells. They are part of his body. They are soldiers." "Soldiers?" Dr. Veleth could not look away from the display. Millions of tiny cells were moving through Daeho's bloodstream. They were gathering at the wound site. They were attacking something, eating it. "They are fighting the bacteria," Subin explained. "They are killing it before it can spread. That is what human bodies do. We have an entire army living inside us, protecting us from infection. We call it the immune system." Dr. Veleth finally looked up from the scanner. She stared at Subin, then at Daeho, then back at the scanner. Her mouth opened and closed several times before she could speak. "Your body," she said slowly, "fights infection on its own? Without medicine? Without sterile treatment?" Daeho smiled despite his pain. "Doctor, you mean yours does not?" The room went very quiet. Dr. Veleth sat down heavily on the floor. All 4 of her arms hung limp at her sides. She looked like someone whose entire understanding of the universe had just been turned upside down. "No," she said softly. "No, it does not. Nothing does. No species does that. It is not. It is not supposed to be possible." Tovak was still staring at the scanner display, watching the white blood cells do their work. "What else?" the Grellian asked in a small voice. "What else can human bodies do?" Subin and Daeho looked at each other. "That," Subin said, "is going to be a very long conversation."